Welcome to Keeping Up with Data. Keeping Up with Data is the podcast that keeps data enthusiasts up to speed with what is happening in the data world. We bring in the leading minds from the data industry to talk all things career, news, embarrassing stories, failures and successes. So something really important for us here at Precision Sourcing is mental health. It's something we've been focused on a lot over the last year or so, and we're lucky enough to have partnered with the Black Dog Institute. And we're going to be doing a lot of events with them this year. A lot of our events, money will be going towards them. And they're out there aiming to create a mentally healthier world for everyone. So if you wish to support the cause, please donate via the link in the bio on this podcast, and you'll be seeing a lot more information about Black Dog over the next year. Right, welcome everyone to our first virtual Keeping Up with Data with me, Joel Robinstein, and
me, Emily Nota.
And today we are joined by a great friend, Florence La Carbona. How are you doing, Florence?
Excellent, thank you, and really happy to be with you guys. Be with you.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it's a little bit different this time, but thank you so much for coming on. We're going to go over all the usual stuff that we do. We've got data jokes, we've got Emily on the streets. We're going to ask you who your people in the zombie apocalypse are. Obviously, it's very important. And we're going to do some stories around the world of data and why you're in it, and try and learn as much as we can from you, Florence. So let's get started. First things first, do you want to just tell everyone a little bit about yourself? It's always a great place to start, what you do and who you are.
Yeah, so I'm Florence. I'm the head of data at MetLife. I've been with MetLife for 2 years. And really my job is to lead a team of talented data analysts and to drive the new data capability for MetLife in our transformation as a digital insurer, and also drive the data governance program of work across MetLife. So it contributes to becoming a more data literate organization. And before that, I had various roles in data in financial services, and starting my career in consulting back in France just a few years ago. And I've been in Australia. It's going to be 12 years this year. I have 2 young daughters, 2.5 and 5.5. And I love running, cycling, and I hope, and French politics as well, because there's always a lot of drama in there, especially this year. It's going to be a good one, like a Netflix TV series.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Well, so you've been here for 12 years. So what brought you to Australia initially?
Well, I wanted to go to work overseas. So that's why when I started my career, I wanted to work for a consulting company to do plenty of things different, and a company that was an international company. So I was working at PwC, and after 3 years there, I spent most of my time talking to the partners, asking them, where can I go to pursue my career? And it happened to be Australia. So I moved with PwC. So I came for work, but I stayed for love because I met my husband. And like for the beach
people,
as well.
Of course, like so many people. So that's a good, I guess, piece of information straight away. So you knew as a young data professional, you wanted to move overseas, and you went, right, how am I going to do that? And you went consulting, because that is obviously a lot of big global firms that you can do that with. So would you suggest that is a good place to start your career if that is an aspiration of yours?
I would definitely advise that for many. I think first is what's important is what you want to do. And if you're just happy where you are, it's like cool. But I think it's important to have an idea of where you want to be in 5-10 years, even though it's not going to happen. It gives you a direction, and this type of moves do not happen with a click of fingers. You know, it takes time to build, to get people to trust you, to get people to know you, to get people to give you the opportunities that you want. So I think the first step is know what you want to do, where you want to be, and then make sure that you open as many doors as possible to be able to go in the direction that you want, and then make it happen. You know, don't wait for someone to knock on your door and offer you an opportunity. It never happens this way. You need to. So many. I have a few examples in my career where you need to provoke your luck.
Yeah, do you know what? There's a few people we spoke to on this podcast who said very similar things, right? And I think, when mental health is a huge thing that people are talking about at the moment for obvious reasons. And one of the things people say is, in order to help yourself, you have to help yourself. You have to go for that opportunity. If you sit back and wait, you just get into this malaise, this why has nothing ever happened for me kind of mindset. Yeah, that sort of mindset. So really going and grabbing what you want is kind of what we're getting at here, right?
And it goes for everything. So what's the worst thing that can happen is that you're going to learn something. That's the worst thing that can happen. Whether you succeed or you fail, you will learn something, and that will help you in your journey.
And what a great way to learn things. I think you always say this, Emily, not that people further in their careers shouldn't join consulting, but early in your career, consulting's a great place just to kind of find your feet. You talk to candidates about this a lot, right?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's diversity. You learn about taste, you learn about different people, cultures. Like, there's so much learning in such a short space of time. You obviously have first-hand experience, so.
Yeah, and like many years later, people still look at my CV and say, "Oh, you were in consulting." So it really matters, and also your progression through consulting is important.
Yeah.
If you just do the same thing in consulting, maybe people don't notice, but the fact that you think you also need to, sometimes it can be, someone described it to me one day as a love and hate relationship, right? You're going to enjoy working there. You're going to make so many friends. It's high pace. You're going to learn so many things, but it's tough as well. Sometimes it can be really hard, and you can have lots of work. And when you're young, there are probably things that, I don't know, the politics aspect that you might not really understand. But hang in there, get to a good level. Don't spend 1 or 2 years if you want to start your career there. I would suggest get at least to a manager level, because you will apprehend different parts of the business, not only the doing and the delivery, but also the managing people, the managing some budgets, and starting to go more into planning and leadership. And I think that's very important. And that's a fast track to future roles in corporate organization or wherever you want to go. Really.
And the amount of experience you get across different kinds of clients. You see how different businesses run things. You see how decisions are made, because you're part of that decision-making process. You could even be like a junior consultant in a consulting company, be sat in a room with a senior C-level executive from a client, and you're hearing how those thought processes go, right? So, yeah, extremely valuable. And obviously, you're sat here where you are now. You're attributing a lot of the success to that. To take it back one step further, we'd love to know as well, what was the moment that you knew that, I guess, you were in the right career, that really struck a chord with you?
So when I worked at TAL, which is also a life insurance company, so I started there working as like the role was like a business solution manager, if you like. So I had a team of 4 BAs, and we were supporting the claims team and making the link between the claims team and the technology team, and there were lots of reporting. And I really started to be really interested into the reports, the data, and I was like, well, actually, that's always what I love to do, not understanding the business, but also talking to the tech people and leveraging technology to help our business people to work better, work more efficiently. And what happened is there was a role that opened as head of data in IT, and I knew it was too senior for me at that stage, but I was like, well, that's where I want to go. I had some ideas. I had worked with the tech guys. I had some really hands-on experience being on the business side that I could bring to technology, and I talked to my boss at the time, and I said, you know what, that's what I want to do. I want to apply. It's too senior for me, but I think this is the type of thing I want to do. And he was very supportive. He was like, do you think you can do the job? And I was like, yes. Never say no, yes. And he was like, yes, so apply. And to his credit, because that was a man, very supportive. He supported me. And I talked to the lady who was recruiting at the time, the new GM of delivery. And she said, oh, it's I want someone a bit more senior, blah, blah, blah. But we really connected. And to this date, she's my mentor now, many years after. And when a couple of months later, after she recruited the real head of data, there was a role in this team. And the first person to call internally, they called me to join the team because I had expressed my interest in joining this team, and I was really passionate about joining IT. So yeah, so that's how is my journey in data really started. Although I think it has started before, because I think data is really the place where you really mix business and technology. Probably the digital people would say the same.
Yeah.
But I think data and digital are also linked. So yeah, so that's my story.
And so one of the things that I've got from that, obviously with you as well, Emily, and we speak to a lot of people in a lot of senses who want to be something else. So maybe it's a data engineer who wants to be a data scientist, maybe it's someone like yourself who wants to be head of data. One of the pieces you always suggest is try and get it in the business that you're in. It's easier, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like you've already done with the example, right? Like if you can get a piece of work or you can get exposure to something where you're like, I'm at least witnessing what's going on, understanding and getting familiar with tools, language, all that kind of stuff. So important.
Yeah.
So much easier.
And obviously you've gone for something there which they said to you, look, you're probably not going to get it, but you've managed to make the connections with those people. You've stuck in their brain as someone, if we need someone, this is someone to go to, right? So I think often we get calls from people saying, oh, well, I'm this at the minute, but I want that. So I need to leave my current company in order to get it. So have you got any advice for people around how you go around those conversations, how you approach people, even if you know you're probably not right for a role or a project?
Well, I think, but first, I think if you want to do a lateral move, if you're in an organization that can provide this opportunity for you, you should make it known. That's why we have development plans in place. That's why you have, as a people leader, you have regular conversation with your staff. I'm hoping people do that regularly to talk about their career aspiration. Like, as a people leader, my job is not to keep the same team with me for the next 10 years. My job is to help people to grow and develop for the company I work for the greater good of, at least that's what I think, but for the greater good of the company. And these opportunities are here, right? And if you do that internally, then people will want to join your team as well, because they'll be like, well, I can go in this team, I can learn something new, but I can go to another job internally and these people there will promote me and help me. So that's always a great story for the organization itself to really promote those lateral moves. And it's much hard, and because you already have the connection, you already have the culture, you already know the people. So you, even if you don't tick all the boxes, you already bring some soft skills with you, or some other insights with you. So I would definitely first make it known to your people leader. What are your career aspirations? What do you want to do? But don't go to them and say, oh, I want to change.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so what do you expect you with me to? No, go to them with a thought through proposal, and then they will introduce you to some people, and they will help you to reach out to those people. If they don't, maybe find another boss.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Maybe not in the right team. I think people forget, and I forget myself a hell of a lot, is that it's the best attraction strategy for your team. Everyone talks about perks and benefits, and no, the best attraction strategy is look at these people that you could be like or you want to be like, and look how we've helped them, and that's going to help you attract people more than anything.
Yeah, and attract and retain as well as a business, right? Because those people, even if they leave your team and they go to another team, then they can become your allies, especially in data. If there's someone going to another business unit or something, you open another door, you have a door of entry. So
brilliant. Well, look, that is a great start to today's podcast. So I'm really excited for this. Let's just take a quick segue. We're going to do the data joke because it's my favorite thing to do early on, just to get the juices flowing. I'm going to get Emily to go first this time because I feel like virtually it'll make it easier for you, Florence. So Emily's got the harder job, obviously, because she has to think of a new one each time. If you get even a slight laugh, you're winning. Is the vibe here?
Yeah, from either angle, whether it be like a pity laugh as well. Hopefully, I've never had anyone have the same joke as me though.
That's
well.
true.
So let's
yeah.
hope you've not.
I was thinking about that. What's the probability of having the same joke, you know?
Of course, you thought about the probability, like proper analytical mind. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
What do a zoo owner and a Python data analyst have in common?
I don't know. What do a zoo owner and a Python analyst have in common?
They both import pandas.
Yeah. Like it.
Do you know what? You give yourself the biggest laugh out of everyone, but
I do it for the fans.
you do it for the fans. Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Do you know what? That was not your worst one.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Okay. Florence, are you ready?
Yeah. So
Okay.
okay. So I must say that I really love this joke that makes me laugh on my own. But yeah, every time I tell this joke, especially to my husband, is like, "But do you realize that this is not funny?" And I'm like,
I'm so
"You
excited.
don't understand. This is absolutely funny." So my joke is, so that's a data analyst that produces a report, and his report is 3 out of 5 smokers die. No, because it means that. So what about the other 2? Apparently they are immortal. You know, that's what you have to deduct from the joke, you know.
Oh, such a data joke. It's so good.
Yes, and that's why it's such a data joke, because people don't get it.
No.
But then it's smart. It means this is so the quintessential of a bad data analysis, you know, to put that in a report. 3 out of 5 smokers die.
Has
This
anyone
is so
told you that if you
yeah.
have to explain your joke, it's not a joke?
Yeah, but this is even more joke because you have to explain it. You know, this is a petit, as we say in France, mise en abîme. You know, it's the joke inside the joke. Anyway,
The joke is so
Inception.
joke inception.
yeah, something like
Right.
that. No, it goes
You know
deep.
what? It wouldn't be the worst joke we've had on this podcast either.
No, I've definitely done that.
And do you know what the problem? You probably sat here with an audience of non-analysts, both of us sitting there blankly going, okay, we're missing something here. If you told that to a room of data analysts, you'd have them on the floor.
Hopefully.
Good effort. Anyway, right, moving on. Let's do some more funny stories. So this is one I always like to ask. It causes a little bit of controversy. Which job functions on your travels think they know about data but actually have no idea?
Okay, so I'm not gonna name and shame anyone here, but I'm just gonna say, if it's any people who come to you and say to you because you work in data and they're like, oh, how can I help you? You know, when you start a new job, for example, and you meet stakeholders and they're like, you know what, we want insights, and stop here, and you're like, okay, cool. So you know, it really means like insights on what business problem you are to solve. Like, do you think I come with a crystal ball and I'm like, insight for you? So those ones, and people who come to you and like, why the data between report A and report B don't match? And you're like, and you know, they make it sound like it's very important question, and they, well, maybe because, you know, if you try to do a carrot soup and you use some potatoes from this garden and some celery from this other garden, the soup will first never be a carrot soup, and it will never taste like a carrot soup, and it will never taste the same. So, you know, where are the data? Where they come from? What do you want to do with your data? Why there are 2 different reports trying to answer the same question? These type of things.
So what percentage of people...
It's more behaviors, you know, rather than
a function. So what percentage of people that you deal with on a day-to-day basis fall into those categories?
Oh yeah, maybe I'll pass, but yeah.
That's brilliant. Okay, buzzwords. Everyone loves buzzwords in data. Everyone hates buzzwords in data. What are your least favorite buzzwords?
So it's ML, like machine learning and AI, artificial intelligence. Like, when you see, and maybe that's relevant for you guys, but organization that are advertising jobs, and like there's a long shopping list of things that you're supposed to know about, and and being able to use machine learning and AI. Okay, so to do what? So that's it. It's not, because sometimes you just need to fix the fundamentals before you want to look cool.
Yeah, 100%. So many companies out there at the minute are going straight to the AI strategy without even having a data strategy. So
yeah, or the things like well, that could have been another data joke, right? That it's all about if and else statements. So go back to SQL, right? So there are lots of jokes about that. I don't have one in mind.
do you know what? Do you know what? This is funny because you're the first person who's come on the show said there are lots of jokes about data. Every other guest has said there are hardly any jokes about data, but it seems that you find the joy and the funny in everything that you do, which is awesome.
Oh, well, you have to try. One of my motto is do things seriously without taking yourself seriously. So sometimes it hasn't worked so well, but you have to be who you want to be, and that's it.
That's good. That's what we like to hear. Well, talk about recruiters now, because everyone likes to talk about recruiters. What is the funniest sales pitch you've ever had from a recruiter?
Yeah. So I had a good one day. So a recruiter called me, and she was explaining to me this like very senior job and really well paid, and then the more I asked her question, the more she was like telling how much people didn't care about. So that was a newly created role by a newly CTO or C whatever, and she was like, yeah, he really needs a person who can do everything about data, but the organization is really like, no one cares about data. No one, like almost like the leadership team is dysfunctional, like all these horrible things that apart from the good pay, I think there was nothing else that was like, you would arrive in the job and be like, okay, so clearly no one cares about, I mean, the too hard to bother type of thing, even if you pay me $1 million.
Yeah.
I just, yeah.
It sounds like the recruiter had given up on the job themselves.
Yeah, so maybe she was desperate.
Yeah.
And she called me. I don't know. Maybe that's why she called me, actually. I didn't think of that.
You never know, right? You never know. You never know with recruiters as well, because obviously this is one of the things in our industry. You could have the phone call from someone who's been in it for 3 minutes or 30 years. You just don't know, right? And she might have started a new role and someone's gone, here's a role that we can't fill, you take it and good luck with it, right? So, there's quite low barrier to entry within the recruitment industry. But speaking of the market, recruitment, it's changing a lot. I'm going to come to you first on this, Emily. Like, obviously it's 2022 now. We're back in the new year. Like, what have you been seeing that's changed over the last few months? What's new? What do people need to know about now we're in 2022?
Oh my God, what a broad question.
Very broad question. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So there's definitely been a lot of hype around, oh my God, salary's going up. It's ridiculous. The market's chaotic and talent short, which it all is very true, but positive outcome, I think, is now starting to stabilize, which is quite nice and breathtaking, basically, because it's been so heavily competitive. Not to say it isn't still, but it's starting to stabilize. I'm noticing that there are more investments in more senior roles, I think. I mean, these don't come around often. The volume's always not as high as like a senior analyst or a batch of senior analysts you need, but that's one thing I'm noticing. And then what else?
I mean, salaries have definitely gone up, haven't they?
Yeah.
But they are stabilizing, which is good, because I don't think it was sustainable, the rate they were going up last year. I mean, I think you recruited last year.
The rate was just total crazy.
Chaos.
Didn't make sense whatsoever.
Do you know what I've also noticed is that, like, I've said this maybe before, but like everyone is just so easily swept off their feet for money, and I actually can't believe it. Like, it's just Can you not think for a couple of days at least and think, is this really what I want? Can I just take 10 grand less for a better, 20, 30 grand less for a better job? When I'm just chasing the money, I might be out of it in a year, which is not looking good for your CV or your development.
Exactly.
How do you find it?
Especially, I totally agree with the development point as well, because you need to think about, I mean, your career is not just about how much money you earn, right? I mean, I gave you the example about the job, right? Like just now I could have moved and be like, yeah, cool, much more money, but like what after that? And I think that's what you need to think about is if you take a new job, it's like, what can be my next job? So if you want to be a contractor all your life and that, okay, cool. But if you want, I see people are like, oh yeah, I want to build my leadership skills, and okay, that's good. But what do you do to do that? If you move every year, or to some, how can you build the skills to be able to be a people leader, right? That's just an example. So, and yeah, if you want to pass a certain level of money, you will need to be a people leader. You will need to do more than just the technical skills. It's more about the soft skills, being able to understand people, being able to influence, being able to talk in layman's terms about what is it that you do. So, and this is where you can get more money. So, the more money can only go so far.
Yeah, it's a good point. We see a lot of people it's almost like a race to like 160, 170, 180 plus super. Like as quick as I can, get to that. But then that's a stop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But so, obviously, you say some people are happy to kind of get to that point and stay at that point, which is, so our most recent talent survey, it was a pretty even split between about a third of the market want to become people leaders, about a third of the market want to be leaders without a team, and then a third of the market never want to lead people. So there's, different strokes for different folks. But yeah, there's the green-eyed monster is what I call it. Oh, my friend who I started at the same time as is earning $30,000 more than me, so I should be getting that. Forgetting that people advance at different stages and move through their careers at different stages, but
and do different things as well. Like, what is it that your friend is doing? Like, sometimes I remember talking to a friend of mine, and he was more working on the IT side, but he was like, yeah, salaries are crazy for contractors, but I wouldn't do their job. Like, they just do this stuff because no one wants to do that. This is not interesting work, right? So what is it that the other said? Sometimes you pay more because for many reasons, and you have to ask yourself also, what about the culture? What about the type of people you want to? I think at some stage it becomes really much not it's who you work with and what type of work you are doing. Because if you're going to work just because you are being paid, can only go so far.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, at some point, if you chase the money too much, you get to a ceiling where people actually can't afford you, and like you've almost like you've overpriced yourself, and then you get that imposter syndrome because you're like, oh my god, I actually can't do this role because I've been paid too much. And
it's difficult because you can there is a large proportion of the population of the world who do work just for money, and that doesn't mean that's a bad thing, right? That's just that's a certain way of looking at it. But then you kind of can't have that mentality and have all the other nice things that come with someone who actually wants to invest in a business and be part of the culture, So there's that balance between the two, and I'm not saying, and then there's people on this side of things who've probably been burnt by companies that they've really invested in, and then just suddenly out of nowhere they get moved on, and they could become bitter, move into this camp, and vice versa. So it's hard to make these blanket statements, and I think it's funny us sitting here because everyone's like, oh, recruiters complain about salaries and it just makes their jobs more difficult. I mean, at the end of the day, it's good for us if salaries go up, right? We make money when salaries go up, but at the end of the day, we would much prefer a stable market, a sustainable market. Than just something that's absolutely crazy. So maybe this is a good question to follow up on that is, what's the most shambolic interview experience that you've ever had?
Yeah, so that's, so when I finished studying, so as I said, I was looking for a job in consulting. So I interviewed with a consulting company that I won't name. And so basically, this is the type of interview day, you know, when you arrive, they put you in a room, like you have, I don't know, 30, 40 people in the same room. You have the HR talking to you, then you have a super senior partner who come and talk to you and tell you how awesome his life is. Since he's been with the company for 20 years and he gets headhunted every day. And then you have people start asking questions to feel like this is already part of the interview. And I remember being like, oh, well, first I had a suit with collar that day, and everyone was dressed the same in black, like men and women. I was like, oh, okay, so clearly I don't tick this box. And then you do one interview with someone, and then you had several interviews, and one of the interview was with two guys, two consultants, and one was, sorry, but like such a dickhead, like just like there's no other way to say that, right? The way he was asking question, like he thought he was like so important. And at some stage, because I studied in Mexico, so I said that I could speak fluent Spanish, and I don't know if it's because he didn't believe me or something like that, and all of a sudden he switched in Spanish, but his accent was so shit. And so I replied to him, and clearly he gave me that look like, yeah, I don't understand what she just said. And then at that time I look at his other colleague, which had asked no question, and I kind of gave him the look like, this guy's a dickhead, is it? And the dude was a bit like that in the back. You know, I was like, okay, right. And from them, I just completely I just observed the interview as in a social experiment, really.
Yeah.
So
100%.
yeah.
I'm guessing that you didn't take that job and then you moved on.
But probably I don't even know if they selected. They probably didn't select me anyway. So I was just like, okay, no way.
That's fantastic. I love it when people get caught up in their bullshit. So he obviously thinking he's super smart, he's catching you out, and then he's not realised that he's actually caught himself out.
Yeah, but what a terrible way to make people feel welcome. But I think maybe when I started my career, I don't know if it's a thing about French consulting, but yeah, the people working, that was a very different culture. Like in the company where I ended up going, clearly someone literally asked me a question, but do you think it's okay to bribe clients for prostitutes? And I was like, what's this question?
That is not a question.
Like, yeah, and like, you know, you talk to a dude who's like already senior and you're just fresh, like out of uni, like, oh, what's that? Yeah.
That is brilliant. Do you know what?
So there are a few interesting experiences. And
you know what? And the thing is as well, some people are just dickheads. And there's just nothing you can do about it, right? Every industry, everywhere you go. Right, we're going to move on to Emily on the Streets because this is one of my favourite segments. We find out what the public knows about data. Today's is really short and sweet. We have 5 responses, and the question is, do you know what AWS, Azure, and GCP are? Okay. So how many, I mean, I know you were there, but it was a while ago now.
I don't.
So you don't remember. How many people do you think get it right out of 5?
But you mean like people on the street, like random?
Randoms.
Oh, random. Oh, I think if you get one person, you're lucky.
Okay, 1. Because yeah, it's usually about 1 or 2 out of 5. I seemingly remember this one. I think people did okay on this one, maybe because like AWS is to do with Amazon, maybe there was something to do with that. But anyway, what about you?
I think there was maybe 3.
You can go 3. Okay, well, let's find out.
I don't think that's actually quite high. I take it back.
You take it back. You're gonna go 2 then.
2.5.
2.5. Yeah, there's a lot of half points that we give out as well. All right, it's quite short. I'm hoping that you can hear this, Florence.
What are AWS, Azure, and GCP?
Cloud platforms.
Would be like some type of software.
Clouds.
Cloud technology.
They are all programs within the data space.
So 3. You're gonna give 3? You can't give the software person.
I think 2.5. Emily was right.
2.5. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Well done.
That's pretty good. That was the one I think people did the best on, and it's the shortest and snappiest one. People just went for that one. Normally they just sat there like, oh. So that was pretty good, I thought.
Okay. No, but I thought you would ask them to say the acronyms, so that's why I said.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise, maybe I would have pushed to 2, but probably not 2.5. I'll be honest. So
Yeah. There you
Emily,
go. That's the highest score that we've had, I think. I think we did one recently where no one got it. I can't remember what it was, but that's pretty good. I guess it's a good sign that people are to cotton on to what is going on in the data world. I think the big one for me was so I watch a lot of American football, and AWS have got a partnership with the NFL, and they do these adverts where it shows you the percentage probability of like a catch being made, and there's constantly adverts about AWS. So maybe that's helped.
That's maybe.
Very nice. Right. Okay. Let's go for another of my favorite questions, which we didn't get to ask last time because we didn't want to talk about it. If you had an audience with Scott Morrison, everyone's favorite prime minister, what data would you show him?
So, I think I would combine like COVID data, economic data, mental health data, and I'd be like, okay, when can we reopen our borders, dude? Like, real reopening. That's it. Yeah.
Nice.
And for so many reasons, because we're talking about recruitment and all that, so that's a great segue. But I think those crazy prices as well is because already we're an industry where we are poor on resources, on advanced skills, and this is terrible for our industry, and not just for the current jobs, but also for the pipeline of students that should come here and should. So it's not a short-term thing. It's going to be a long-term thing, and I feel Australia is going to suffer from that because even which student will want to come here at the other end of the world where you can be like, okay, you can't go home in a minute, So
I think 2 or 3 things that we've done that have really shot ourselves in the foot. Number one was how we treated those students and working holiday visas and non-PR people in the country when COVID hit. So they had no benefits. They were told you can't work. They basically couldn't feed themselves, right? So that's just not a good look for starters. I think secondly, like you've said, it's not just the talent that we need. It is those students. And it is a case that 80% of our industry have come from overseas. I mean, like with most things in Australia, right? I mean, it's an immigrant country. So, that's the second thing. And I was just talking to one of my colleagues today, and we've got a guy. It's very frustrating for people externally from Australia because the outward messaging in Australia is we need talent. We are short on talent. They're all sat there in America, India, France, wherever. They go, all right, I'll come to Australia. And everyone goes, oh, yeah, but we can't sponsor you and it's too hard to bring you here. And, so it just doesn't marry up.
No, I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. So that's why I'd be like,
and it's not just the government as well. I mean, internal workings in medium to large size businesses as well. They're not set up to go, right, you're in the US, here's the visa that you need. We're going to sort that for you. We're going to bring you over and you're going to land in Australia in 2 months. It's very much, oh no, you're over there.
Too hard.
It's too hard.
Yeah.
But I don't have the answer to that. I'm not an immigration consultant, nor am I in an HR department in a large company. And they're probably sat there going, well, there's reasons why we can't just do it. And I don't know what they are. But very frustrating for people. Right. If you weren't working in data, I'm going to actually ask you as well, because you've answered this before, but maybe your mind's changed.
Okay.
All right. If you weren't working in recruitment or data, what would be your dream job? I'm going to start with you, Florence, because I reckon you're ready for this.
So my dream job, and maybe in another life, I know we should never say that. We should do it in this current life because we probably don't have another one. Although we can have a life in metaverse, so I'll see.
Fingers crossed.
So I think I would be a stand-up comedian to make people laugh.
That is the best.
That is the best. You're very funny, so I think that you'd be a good stand-up comedian.
Yeah, but I think it's hard to be funny as a stand-up comedian. So
Yeah.
To make it, it's like when you like something. Oh, you're a good cook, but then between being a good cook and owning a restaurant, 2 different things. So
100%. I think I'm a good home cook, and I go eat at a restaurant. I'm like, no, I'm really not that good. But you know what? It's because they put a ton of butter and oil in at the restaurant, and I can't do that every single day at home because I'll get fat.
Yeah, but butter is life, mate. So
But I know you're French. I get that. Like, obviously, butter is life, but you can't just put a block of butter in every.
no, you can put. Yeah, no, unfortunately not.
No,
Yeah.
you can't. Do you know what, as well? So I have a really good friend of mine who is a stand-up comedian, and we saw her start from not being a stand-up comedian to now being a like legit, like on TV, on Just for Laughs, like doing Melbourne Comedy Fringe. Amazing. But the journey, and
Yeah.
you in a room of 4 people doing comedy, and it's
brutal.
just brutal. So yeah. So do you implement that into your presentations at MetLife when you get a bit
not just at MetLife, but a bit everywhere. You know, like in French, you say you. Yeah, there's an expression for that, and I think since I'm a little girl, I've always been a bit. We call that cabotin or cabotine. So I think I must admit I've always been. Yeah, I've always been like that, and yeah, it's. Yeah, I try to do that. As again, you know, this is part. If this is part of who you are, then you need to show people who you are, you know, and don't be a different person in your private life or at work. You know, be authentic. That's part of it.
That's what we say, right? Be your authentic self, which is why Emily's on LinkedIn doing videos of dressed as Game of Thrones characters trying to find candidates, right? So
oh gosh, I miss them. Where are they? I need to look again.
They are the best videos you could ever watch. Her and Laura are doing these, like Emily dresses like Cersei, like a fur coat. So good, honestly.
I'm gonna get all
I will
these
happily
views.
find them for you, I promise. I might repost it just as a throwback. Just
yeah, please do, because I watched your video, Emilie. I always like them. Yeah, I think it's with people.
Yeah.
You'll hate this one, but
No, you love to hate this one. It's the cringiest, best thing you'll ever watch. So what would you do, Emily?
I'd be an athlete. I'd probably be like a triathlete.
Oh wow, that's hard.
I like it's hard, but I've always dreamt of like, I don't know, just being able to like train with personal trainers, be like in your best physical shape that you possibly can be, and like, oh my God, I'm so passionate about it because obviously I love it at that time that it just doesn't seem like work.
Nice.
You know, it would be difficult.
You can do it. You can do it now.
God, no. I'm actually I'm like 28 soon, and I will be trapped, and I'm pretty much trapped inside an 8-year-old's body. It's like that's how I feel. I feel like I'm dying on the outside. All my joints and my muscles are going already. Imagine what I'm going to be like when I'm like 70.
No, find a personal trainer and set yourself a goal, and then you make it.
Wise words.
Wise words indeed.
Find a triathlon somewhere, do it.
Yeah, just do a triathlon. Just do one. You might as well.
I'll do it in the next year.
Sweet. All right, we're going to hold you to that.
Yeah. Okay. I hold you to that. Actually, that's my goal as well, to do a triathlon before my 40s.
Oh, there you go. You do it together, and then you.
I mean, to do So I want to do half Ironman, and actually, I mean, that's another funny story. I think. So I like to say that this is how I got the job at MetLife, because I put that on my CV, which is another advice, you know, like put your, if you're proud of something, put it on your CV in the personal interest, because people want to know you, right? We don't just want to hire you because you know how to code in Python and SQL. You know, who you are as a person is important. And sometimes there's nothing on the section. And for me, that's the most interesting section not the most interesting, but this is a very interesting section.
You just skip straight
and you can engage a conversation when you interview people, you know, on a personal level. So I had put that I did a triathlon, Olympic distance, blah, blah, blah. And that's actually the person who recruited me at MetLife. That's the first question he asked me. And he stopped. And it happens that he is an amazing athlete who had done Hawaii, the World Championship of Triathlon in Hawaii. And I was like, oh yeah, no, but I'm not that level at all. And he started showing me photos of him doing the triathlon and all that. And I'm like, after half an hour, like, hey, can I maybe talk about my experience, like, you know, for a job, like a job interview, and like, so, yeah, and I got the job, so yeah.
It does help, doesn't it?
That sounds like our MD, Simon. He did the exact same thing when I was interviewing at Precision. I was like in there ready to like prepared, like nearly sweating, and he was like, so you Lululemon, I've got this and this, my wife bought me this, and went on and off a tangent being like, I love this clothing brand, and it was so funny. And then I was like, cool, so what else do you want to know?
Yeah, not just Lululemon.
Yeah, exactly.
It is a good interview technique. So Simon, he does that with every person that he interviews. He tries to find some in common, because it can show you as well like how passionate someone is about something, or you just someone who just says things but you aren't really that bothered, right? So it is a good technique to do. I think you can do a triathlon. Of all the people that I know,
You can do it.
you could do it tomorrow. I think you're fit enough.
I love it. No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I
you
love
are.
I love the backing behind me.
Good. All
Look,
right.
once you pay for your registration and pay for your registration, tell everyone.
Tell
Then
everyone.
you put enough pressure on yourself that you can't not do it, so.
Maybe I'll pay for your registration and get it for you, and then you have to do it because
Oh
it's a
my
gift.
God.
No, it's like going to the shrink, you need to pay for your own therapy.
Yeah.
They work.
That makes sense.
True.
So speaking of colleagues, who's the most amazing colleague that you've ever worked with, and why?
Oh, there's usually lots of amazing colleagues, really. But I think I generally really like people who are like personable geeks. So I love geeks, but fun ones, who like taking the piece of themselves, and I really love those people, and also EAs and PAs, because they're often like so resourceful and so fun, and they're also very good psychologists, to work with executives, and often they don't work just for one exec, they work for a few of them, so they need to adapt their styles. So I think that would be my two types of best friend in a company, like the personable geeks and the EAs.
That's awesome. You like my wife, then she was a PA for many years. She had to be a PA for our boss Simon, and that's probably one of the hardest jobs that you could ever have, because I don't think he even knows what he's thinking sometimes. So because one thing I really noticed when you're a PA as well is that not your life, but your job is to basically understand this person, or these are three people, just what they're thinking without them even saying it.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're so really like the EQ is like to the roof.
And you know when they're coming at you, but they're not actually coming at you. They're just other things going on. You've got to take it sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's controversial, but maybe that's why a lot of big CEOs have, relationships with PAs, EAs, or they end up marrying them.
Maybe.
Oh, but totally,
Yeah, that's a good point.
Unfortunately, it doesn't really go the other way.
No.
Female and male EA. That's maybe a topic for another conversation.
Yeah, I think
in the EA world.
Tangent.
Definitely tangent. Right. A really important question. What would you tell 21-year-old Florence to help them?
I really like this question, I must admit. And I often reflect on that. And that's why I try to tell my daughters now. And I would tell the 21-year-old myself, you only compete with yourself, do what you love, and don't be too caught up by what other people think of you. That's really the name, because at the end of the day, everyone's different. Everyone has different dreams. The definition of success is different for every single person. So just don't compare yourself with others. I think especially if you are in personally, I've always like in France we have a bit of an elitist education system, so it's very competitive from a very early age, right? And so you always compare yourself against others, right? So you do you like which marks you get, which school you get into, which consulting firm you get to work in, which team you get to work in, which grade you get in. And it's just, at the end of the day, it might not work for different people. So it might not work for you.
Their own race. Everyone's really running their own race. And do you know what? It's amazing. So Emily's got someone amazing in her team, a young lady called Sakara, who's 21, and she's reading a book at the minute. So she's telling herself this own advice. So she's ahead of you and me anyway, Florence. And she's reading the book about not comparing yourself to other people. And she's 21, so she's obviously figured that out already without us telling her. Because especially for young people today, I guess when we were younger, less social media, less online, now you're comparing yourself to 7 billion people, not just your small village or your school, So I think that advice is even more pertinent now than ever.
And I feel that it's interesting because it can be the two extremes with young people, exactly what you say, like they compare themselves a lot and with social media and all that, but at the same time, I think lots, and that's what we say is about the millennials, right? It's like they want to have things their own way, and I find some of them are much more mature already with regards to what they want to do and comparing themselves to no one but just to themselves.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Right, so we're coming up to the end, wrapping up. Important that we talk first about current working cultures because it's super relevant. We'll ease into it with the funniest video call that you've had over the last couple of years.
Okay, so that was obviously in lockdown where lots of things happened. So when I had my older daughter at home, and so I was on a call with global people, some people from the US, from India, from Europe, and we were talking about they were asking me to explain the what type of architecture we had in Australia. So I was talking about that. And this is where my daughter had decided to go to the toilet at that time and was coming and screaming, "I'm finished!" So yeah, I'll let you imagine that what I was doing while talking about data architecture to
Fantastic.
big team of people.
And how old was your daughter at this time?
I think that's when she was 4.5.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's a great age.
Perfect timing. Yeah.
Yeah, really good timing. So, more importantly, work cultures, flexibility, the future work. I mean, obviously, you're sat at home. We've had a very weird start to 2022 with businesses, I don't think, really knowing what the policy should be of letting people back to the office and not, right? When no one knows where we stand. On one hand, the government's telling us to live with it. The other hand, they say no dancing. Who bloody knows? Let's get rid of the COVID out of the conversation. What for you is going to be important for the future work, the future of the culture, the future flexibility?
Yeah, so definitely, I think it's a mix of flexibility and connection, right? And not technology connection, but real life connection, because yeah, now the lines between private life and professional life are quite blur, which is fine, and it's great to have the flexibility to do things that you have to do during the day and do some work later at different times, as long as you just do the work that you have to do. But the 100% working from home, flexible, etc., I think can also reach its own limits because your culture starts to really dilute in just having only transactional interaction with people. And but again, I think it depends what you do. But if you work for a company with a little bit more than I don't know, 30 people, maybe you at some stage you also part of a tribe, if you like, and if you want to achieve things together, it's you need to have this personal connection with people, and I think that's why I feel the hybrid model is what will prevail in the future.
Yeah.
Then the big question is how to implement this hybrid model, right?
Yeah.
And this is where you can use data because to figure out when people are here more often than not in the office and being able to spread that evenly through the week, right? Because if you ask most people, oh yeah, I work from home on Monday and Friday, so kind of ease into the week and early weekend.
Yeah.
But the week is still 5 days, right? Some companies do 4 days. I know guys do 4 days, which is also another example, right? But I think the consistency in your approach to hybrid work and flexibility and being able to communicate that to the why to your team is very important.
Yeah. I
And
think
if you say we're going to work 4 days, we all work 4 days, and there's there's a framework to do these things, right? Within this framework, you do whatever you want, but there's a framework, and we all adhere to that.
You have to have the framework. I think the difficult piece is the why piece, because so now again, the talent survey that we've just done, over 50% of data professionals are working from home 5 days a week at the minute. Now, obviously, yes, COVID, but that means a lot of people got used to that, and that's what they want. So then to either convince people to come back into the office in your current team, or if you're moving a job to say, well, we work in the office 2 days a week, and that person says, well, I can do my job effectively at home 5 days, so why should I come into the office? To be able to communicate that gap is the key piece here, right?
But I would really challenge, like, what do you mean by effective? You know, like, are you being paid by the number of lines of codes that you produce during a day? No, you know, if you work in data, I mean, most of your work should be it's not just technical. It's really a people work first, you know, like talking to people who don't really get data, bring them on the journey with you. To be able to do that, you need to build this relationship. Otherwise, again, you're going to be in a very transactional mode and be just an order taker. But as a data professional, you should be a business partner, not just an order taker. And this cannot be achieved by just doing lines of codes.
Yeah. I was going to say, I feel like we've all had to change and adapt our lives for the last 2 years so dramatically and like quick, sharp. So a lot of people, playing devil's advocate on the 5 days a week at home, 50% of the people from this talent survey, like maybe they've just adopted a different way of life with their families that would work better for them. So then having to change and uproot that is really difficult. So somehow making that transition really like slow, steady, and like incremental is probably the best way, I think, for people to do it. Really.
And then you've got to kind of have that battle between those who might be working 5 days from home. It's like Rachel in Friends, if you watch Friends, where she doesn't smoke and she loses out because they go out to the smoking area and they're all talking about work. So she had to start smoking. So the people working from home will start feeling like they're missing out on opportunities.
Yeah.
But then the flip side of the people in the office, they're like, well, you chose to work at home, and no, minefield. So, you know, it's not going to be easy. Right, before we ask the final question, which is my favorite question about the zombie apocalypse, which I won't ask you again, Em, because we've asked you quite recently. You said that you're okay to answer the what is your best party trick question, which most people don't have an idea for, which I think you didn't even have an idea for. What is your hidden talent, Florence?
Yeah, so I played the guitar. Now I don't play so much, and I write songs. I wrote songs. Okay, in French. And one day with my sister, we just jammed with the guitar and we created a song live that is like just on the spot. And we were recording ourselves at that time. And then when we listened to the song, we're like, oh my God, that's such a cool song.
No way.
So the song is called, and if I need to have a certain level of alcoholic substance or something like that to be able to sing this, to get to the stage where I take the guitar and sing the song. But I take the guitar and sing the song of that is called Miss Padawan.
Miss Padawan. So is it anything to do with Star Wars by any chance?
No, yeah, and then I will stop here for the maybe one day you invite me to a party, we have fun, and I can pick up the guitar and I'll sing the song with you.
The most important thing I heard out of that whole bit was that you've recorded it.
Yeah, I have a recording somewhere.
Is a recording that is.
But I would have to change my name, you know, to be able to share it. So.
Okay. What about
it's a bit controversial. Maybe when I do my stand-up comedian career, I can start with.
Could you share it with just me and Emily? Is that something we can have off air?
We can discuss that. There's various recordings actually, because sometimes I just grab the guitar in a bar and do it, or if there's I did that on a few occasions. So okay, I can. Yeah, we'll see.
We're gonna go for a drink too. We're gonna go for a drink. I'm gonna bring you the guitar.
Let's go for a drink. Yeah.
That's the best. Okay. Final question. Most important question. I don't know why it's the most important question, but my favorite. Which 3 people would you want in a zombie apocalypse? Now, before you answer, there's one person who gets mentioned every single podcast, and we haven't spoken about him yet I won't tell you who it is, but I'm interested to see if it comes up for you as well.
Family. Caveat.
Oh yeah, your family's in a bunker safe. So you're not bringing your family. They're safe.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think people will have my people. That would be
cool.
out there. But so I think so. I would bring Joan of Arc because she can raise an army, you know, and she can like. She did that for the French with the English, so I'm pretty sure she would be good.
Yeah.
At the time, you know, the French people were not that good against the English, but she managed to kick their ass. So.
I'd also be a bit scared that she'd be dropped in and gone, what the hell is going on here? Because she'd be trying to fight with swords and everyone had machine guns. But I get what you're saying. I like it.
Yeah. So you get that, and then I would probably bring our French president Emmanuel Macron, because maybe if we don't get to win the battle, he could maybe start negotiation and because he's always like no right, no left, this and that at the same time. So he could be like no death, no living, no zombies. We all won, and maybe. So I would bank on his diplomatic skills. And maybe he would be elected president. I don't know. At least for the first 5 years.
Sure.
We don't know what happened after the next 5 years. And I would bring as well Proust, the French writer, because he could write a novel about what he sees, and because he's such an amazing writer, people could read this in so many years after and really feel that by reading the book, they could feel that they are living again the experience of the zombie apocalypse.
I love how you fully lent into your French heritage. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you're right, no one else has had any of those three that you mentioned. So you've got unique people. I also like the hope that you're going to win the war against the zombies, that you've already thought about post-zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's a good thing.
To make peace, you know, it's...
Peace with the zombies.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it. Well, you've said it all. I really enjoyed that, Florence. Thank you very much. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up today?
Oh, that was such an awesome experience. You guys are great. You're doing some great job. I'm doing a bit of your promotion here, but it's okay. But I think maybe just the last thing is, if you have an opportunity in life, just grab it and do your homework and put all the chances on your side to provoke your luck.
That's definitely going to be the tagline for this podcast. That's sorted. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Florence. Emily, that was awesome. Thank you so much as always. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. We've got some amazing guests this series, so thank you all for listening.